Hello, good afternoon. My name is Adrian Bullock, and I've come over here on this occasion to Hong Kong to talk to you about my role as the chief editor at EHLA, managing the quality of EHLA language, English language, that is, language teaching and learning resources. I'll just talk to you a little bit about myself before I will go into what it is that I do. I graduated from Oxford University many years ago, when I studied French and German, so I am a linguist. But during the course of my life, I have been a teacher of children as well as university students, and I have acquired a fairly deep and comprehensive understanding of the English language through working through other languages. So I actually really appreciate my own language because I have learnt quite a few others. So I have been working with EHLA now for just under 3 years. And my responsibility is to manage the final quality of the English language teaching and learning resources, which are being produced, even as I speak to you now, by writing teams around the world, predominantly in England, but also in North America and other places. Now, initially, the first thing we had to do was to define a set of standards for different aspects of this material, so that people could follow these standards as they created the teaching and the learning material. And it was absolutely vital to do this, to ensure that the EHLA teaching and learning resources are met to the highest possible quality in terms of their conformity to syllabuses, curricula, and teaching and learning standards around the world, nationally and internationally. So this involved deciding, say, at the level of kindergarten, the vocabulary words that needed to be included, the ideas of approach, pedagogic approach, that is, the progression, assessment, feedback, diagnosis, and all the things that make up the extraordinary if you like, careful and sophisticated software and learning and teaching materials put together in the materials offered by EHLA to schools around the world. So we had to, as I say, align the standards to be developed by relevant educational authorities, nationally and internationally. We had to have a consistency of pedagogic approach, which took into account the fact that people learn in different ways, but although they may learn in different ways, there is a, if you like, a consistent way of dealing with that variety. That we're not having a straitjacket saying everybody has to learn things in a particular kind of way, nor are we allowing it to be completely free-fold and free-fall, and that people can do just as they like. We needed also to work out the appropriateness and suitability for the student in terms of their age, their level of cognitive skills, and the level of vocabulary. We also wanted to make sure that the materials were culturally appropriate and suitable for students around the world. So what works in one country may not necessarily work in another country. We don't want to be bland in everything that we do, that it's a sort of kind of pre-digested kind of materials, but we want to present students with challenges, but we don't want to upset people culturally by being insensitive to cultural differences and cultural needs. And then the final thing, of course, is factual accuracy. I think that there's a famous publishing company in Britain, whose name shall be anonymous, and they produced a chemistry textbook for A-levels, which had the experiment on page 55 being done according to the instructions on that page 55. The whole chemistry laboratory would have been blown up with all the students in it. So this is where factual accuracy is actually quite important. Now, we're going now to look at another area that I have to look at as I work on the materials produced by EHLA. We need to ensure that because the work is being produced by different teams of different people around the world, that we have a consistent approach to grammar, to spelling, and usage. And we have decided that all the material produced by EHLA will conform to standard UK usage, to standard UK practice. That's not to say that we're going to make everything be completely English, UK-based for everything. Perhaps you might have an American person writing a letter to a friend, and so the American person will use American usage. We're quite happy with that, but we do not want to have different spellings appearing in different pieces of coursework produced by EHLA, because we haven't been on the lookout for inconsistency. The other area that we're looking at is the, if you like, continuity of action and detail in materials spread over several episodes. We want to make sure that John and Jane are brother and sister on page 1 and continue to be brother and sister on page 2 and end up at the end of the story as brother and sister, rather than changing their names to Peter and Emily halfway through, which can happen if you're not on the lookout for consistency of continuity. The final area that we are very on the lookout for making sure is observed is in the matters such as punctuation, use of quotation marks, numbers, capitalization, and little details like this which contribute to what we call house style. The house style is the style that we have decided to adopt from Oxford University Press, who have an enormously successful book of house style, which is in many ways followed by many other publishers and people producing teaching and learning material, certainly in the UK, if not around the world. It's very important that, again, the work coming in from many different teams is actually knocked into a consistent shape by the application of this house style. And then finally, just to sum up really, quality management is part of an overall painstaking process of making EHL teaching and learning resources to be consistent, trustworthy, and authoritative. All three of these ingredients are essential in building up and maintaining, that's the other aspect, maintaining the EHLA brand and making EHLA teaching resources the go-to place for improving educational performance. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.